Right now on a special edition of To The Point, celebrating Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities.
When they came to America, that's when they realized what freedom is.
Celebrating hope.
The more representation that you have, the more that you can then serve the community.
History.
Our grandfather immigrated from China back in 1905. Mom was first generation born in Stockton.
And heritage.
The joke is that you work in a Chinese restaurant so your kids don't have to work in a Chinese restaurant. And that worked.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Over the next half hour, we are highlighting our local Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. We start in Elk Grove, where these communities are growing. In 2010, the census recorded just over a quarter of Elk Grove's population identified as Asian alone. By 2020, that number grew to include roughly a third of the population. And the city's mayor, Bobby Singh Allen, was born in India. Her family immigrated to Turlock and then moved to Elk Grove back in 1992. Singh Allen was elected mayor in 2020, 20 years after Elk Grove became a city.
So when I go around not only in the greater Elk Grove, but throughout the region, I truly like to lift the API voices, particularly young girls. They really need to see themselves in those leadership roles. So my desire and goal is to sort of break down those barriers, because often you won't see a lot of Asians wanting to serve in public service. We are now starting to see a lot more step up and want to lead, but we need to show them and lead the way.
Asian and Pacific Islander are umbrella terms for races with multiple subgroups. And our region carries a lot of AANHPI history. For example, Stockton is home to the nation's first Sikh temple. The 112-year-old building not only unified the religion in this country, but it also helped organize a revolution in India. The Sikh temple in South Stockton was built by Sikh farmers and laborers as a community center and soon became a site of activism. Sikhs in California met in this building and strategized how to free the people of Punjab, India, from British rule. In Sacramento, history is being made in the district attorney's office. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shows us a different side of DA Tin Ho, who is the first Asian American to ever lead the Sacramento County DA's office. And he's not the only DA staff member, showing us why representation matters. Take a look.
Look at this, you guys.
This wall is historic.
When you stand back and you look at something like this, it's like, okay.
In more ways than one.
Crazy, huh?
In 2023, Tin Ho was sworn in as the very first Asian American Sacramento County District Attorney.
Out of 2,400 elected district attorneys in the entire country, I am only the 10th that is currently of API descent.
His journey started like many Vietnamese Americans, escaping Vietnam by boat during the war in the 1970s, looking for a better life.
My family and I, we were taken to a refugee camp in Malaysia, where I spent 6 months in that refugee camp. Eventually we were sponsored, and eventually we made our way to San Jose, where I grew up.
Ho got into law because he wanted to see more people like him and believed representation mattered. In 2019, the American Bar Foundation found only 14 Asian Americans were elected as prosecutors nationwide out of nearly 2,400.
The more representation that you have, the more that you can then serve the community in a way that is reflective of the community.
In 2024, that representation is obvious within this very office. Rochelle Beardsley.
I'm an Assistant Chief Deputy District Attorney.
Born in the Philippines, Beardsley and her entire family moved to the United States when she was only 6, and she never imagined she'd end up having a law career.
6-year-old me didn't know what a lawyer was. In the Philippines, there was a dictatorship. My family lived through.
But after a very special internship, Beardsley was hooked.
I interned at the DA's office. My first year in law school, I went to Davis for law school. And that was the best experience.
Now, 24 years working at the very office she started as an intern, Beardsley reflects while looking at this wall of past DAs.
It's an inspiration to me. As soon as he was sworn in as the district attorney, he promoted me. I was a supervisor in 2014. And then when he was sworn in 2023, Tin promoted me to assistant chief to run the Community and Government Relations Bureau.
Diversity also extends into the crime lab. That's where you'll find criminalist and DNA technical leader Joy Verrey. At the start of her career 23 years ago, Veray remembers being one of the only Filipino-American employees in the lab at the time.
I had one additional Asian coworker who had already been here for a while, and then one who was hired like 2 months before me. So we were really new in this lab setting.
Even though Veray was born in Salinas, her parents made sure she never lost sight of her heritage.
There was definitely a difference between what you did outside school and all those normal things versus how they raised us within our home. I had that traditional Filipino Catholic background.
Nursing was important to her family, and Veray was encouraged to pursue that career. Instead, science was her calling, and it wasn't until an infamous crime in the 90s that got her looking into forensics.
When I was in college, O.J. Simpson happened, and it really opened up people's awareness of forensic science. And I was a genetics major, so I decided to pursue that.
Since the start of her career, Veray is one of many AAPI employees within the DA's office.
I would see no different, a trend growing as time goes on of increased representation.
It's a goal DA Ho says he's hoping will take off nationwide.
We're creating a pipeline of other leaders so that Asian prosecutors, so that we have API people apply and become prosecutors, and that they then become supervisors, and that they then become executives, and then create that pipeline where one day they may want to become a judge or they may want to become a DA.
It's about representation. It's important. I do see good things to come.
And AAPI representation on the federal level is also low. Our research shows that right now there are only 2 appointed U.S. attorneys out of the 93 attorneys that are currently serving. All right, next on To The Point, highlighting a pillar in the Stockton community who defied the odds. Meet the first Chinese-American teacher in the Stockton Unified School District. And later, why a Chinese restaurant in Woodland might be the oldest in the country.
They clearly have a sense of the history, so they kept some of the old documents, old menus.
As we highlight our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities, we're highlighting local voices. Meet Josh Keizuka with the Florin chapter of the Japanese American Citizens League. He shares more about the history of the organization and how they're fighting for the rights of all people.
My name is Josh Keizuka. I'm the co-president of the Florin chapter of the Japanese American Citizens League with the Japanese American community. Our history goes back to 1935. Today, we're also fighting against, speaking out against alien land laws. We're putting on educational programs and speaking out against those kind of racial and discriminatory laws that are going into place in other parts of the country. There are more Asian Americans, Japanese Americans speaking out, not just for their rights, but for the rights of others. Because of the history of what happened to the Japanese American community, right after the attack on Pearl Harbor, incarceration in concentration camps in the US, we can use those things that happened in the past to say we don't want anything like that to happen to anyone else. I'm an attorney in Sacramento. I focus on criminal defense. Fighting for the constitutional rights of the people who most need the help kind of transfers into the work that I'm currently doing, which is really working for and being a voice for communities of color that have been marginalized.
And next on this special edition of To The Point, meet the first Chinese American teacher in the Stockton Unified School District, how she defied the odds. Plus, a local Chinese restaurant just might be the oldest in the nation. Welcome back. We are celebrating our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. ABC 10's Candace Red is sharing Esther Fong's story. Esther was the first Chinese American teacher in the Stockton Unified School District.
And then this is her, my mom.
Through treasured photos, Les and Leanne Fong remember their mother's love.
Growing up, you never appreciate your mom until you get older.
Esther Fong was a busy mom of 3 and a pillar of the community.
She was always there for us. Mom, interacted with all of us and the community in such a positive way.
Fong became the first Chinese American teacher in the Stockton Unified School District in 1950.
And she always bragged she really never missed a day of school.
Fong taught students for 33 years.
What was this? This is at the ribbon cutting.
But the journey to becoming an educator wasn't easy.
Our grandfather immigrated from China back in 1905. Mom was first generation born in Stockton.
When she started kindergarten, she said she didn't know any English. She graduated from high school 1946. A teacher encouraged her that she could be a teacher and she'd be an excellent teacher. She went ahead, went to college, knowing that she may not get a job.
Chinese people were targets of discrimination. They were prohibited for centuries from becoming U.S. citizens, limiting their access to jobs. But Fong defied the odds.
She was really proud of that fact that she was a trailblazer, right? And she was recognized for her accomplishments.
She taught students at Washington, Madison, and Hoover elementary schools in Stockton. She retired in 1983.
We're still remembering her and still paying tribute to the strong work that she did.
Stockton Unified is providing resources for students and staff to learn about Fong and other figures throughout the month of May.
It's really an honor and special to be able to recognize her legacy. And so although it was in the 50s that she was actually inspiring children, what we know from just her legacy is that her work continued to inspire people for generations to come.
Esther Fong passed away in 2016 at 88 years old.
This is in Stockton?
This is in Stockton. Yeah.
For Les and Leanne, their message is,
Mom, you did good. I mean, you raised 3 great kids. Your grandkids are very successful. And I mean, they're very fond memories.
I know she's listening in and she's shaking her head and saying, you know, I just don't want all this fuss. And I would say, enjoy it. You did good, you worked hard, and it's okay to let people pat you on the back and say you did good.
And at one point, Stockton Unified had a magnet program at Hamilton Elementary in honor of Esther Fong. The program gave students an opportunity to develop leadership skills and learn about other cultures and traditions. In Sacramento, the Mandarins Drum and Bugle Corps, which was founded in 1963, has been a safe space for children of Chinese descent for over 60 years. The organization provides a space for young Chinese Americans to be part of the community through music and cultural events. The Mandarins are still going strong, and now they're teaching over 1,300 students in 45 Elk Grove elementary schools how to make music.
The whole idea was, if we have a good organization that's well respected, but it's only providing for 100 kids, why not try to reach out to more and more kids throughout the community and impact their lives? We provide everything for the kids. And we provide the music director, t-shirts like this. We provide the instrument, the book, all of the accessories.
And you can catch the Mandarins in action at the Capitol Classic, their home show, on Sunday, July 7th at Sac City College. And you can visit abc10.com/links for more information. As we celebrate our AANHPI communities, we're taking a trip on the back roads. A UC Davis law professor believes he has discovered the nation's oldest continually operating Chinese restaurant, and it's located in Woodland. ABC 10's John Bartel takes us to the Chicago Cafe.
If you follow your nose down Main Street Woodland, the smell of chow mein and fried rice might just take you inside the Chicago Cafe Chinese American restaurant. This little mom and pop restaurant is within walking distance of the Yolo County Courthouse, and that's why you'll often find longtime regular and UC Davis law professor Gabriel Jack Chin sliding his fork into the cafe's signature dish during lunch hour.
This is a Chicago combination plate for one, and this is one of their specialties.
Jack, as he likes to be called, first tasted the Chicago combo plate back in 2011 inside one of the restaurant's private booths. It's a seating arrangement that's rarely found anymore.
There were ordinances prohibiting these kinds of private booths, and not very many of them survived.
Over the years, Jack has looked over the menu countless times, but it wasn't until recently that he noticed something.
It's not just a Chinese American restaurant. It is, I believe, the oldest continuously operating Chinese restaurant in the United States.
Welcome to the Pekin Noodle Parlor, the oldest family-owned Chinese restaurant in America.
Back in 2022, the Pekin Noodle Parlor in Butte, Montana gained a lot of headlines when someone thought it was the nation's oldest Chinese restaurant.
That's Jerry Tam. His great-great-grandfather founded the Pekin Noodle Parlor in Butte, Montana all the way back in 1911.
When Jack saw these headlines about the Pekin noodle, it made him think about the Chicago Cafe.
The Chicago Cafe advertises everywhere that they've been open since 1903. 1903.
My grandfather started. My dad here, yeah.
Paul Fong and his wife Nancy are the third-generation owners of the Chicago Cafe.
And my dad right there, all the customer right there, right here cooking.
And if you look around the restaurant, the family's history is displayed like a museum. Out back, there's even a historic plaque marking the location of the old Fong family home, which was once attached to the restaurant.
They clearly have a sense of the history, so they kept some of the old documents, old menus.
By researching the restaurant's old documents and archived newspapers, Jack and a team of UC Davis students were able to find evidence of the restaurant's existence in 1903. But when they looked at records from the city of Woodland, there was almost no mention of the restaurant.
In 1903, 1904, through into the 20s, the business directories for Woodland and Yolo County did not include Chinese residences or Chinese businesses.
Because of the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, discrimination against Asian immigrants across America was widely accepted until the Exclusion Act was repealed in 1943.
It was a series of laws that were designed to restrict Asian immigration to protect white labor.
Restaurants were some of the only businesses under the Exclusion Act that allowed Chinese and Asian immigrants to legally operate a business. It's a topic that Jack discusses in a book he wrote about the history of law and Chinese restaurants.
So this was a place where Asians could work.
So restaurants were kind of like the doorway or the gateway into the United States working here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The Chicago Cafe may have experienced some discrimination in the past, but you wouldn't know it today.
The food's good. You meet old friends here.
Many of the longtime customers here were practically raised eating the food that Paul and Nancy cooked.
So I would have to walk up the alley after school and come here, and then Mom would get me in that room over there to do if I had any kind of homework.
The Chicago Cafe is not just a Chinese restaurant. It's a gathering place, a bit of a museum, and the unofficial community trophy case where customers display their taxidermy deer, fish, and even a peacock that someone hit with their car.
So the guy among the bird open the tail like that.
The community loves Chicago Cafe, and it allowed Paul's grandfather and father to immigrate to America from China. It also allowed Paul and Nancy to provide a better life for their children.
My daughter is the doctor in the Kaiser in the physical therapy. And then my son work in the Apple. They all make good money.
Since 1903, the Fong family has been serving food and the community. But with no kids to take over, the Chicago Cafe dynasty looks like it could be coming to an end. Are you going to be sad when you leave the place?
No time to. I put tell the music guy already. I want to lease out so I can retire.
When the oldest continually operating Chinese restaurant in America does close, there probably will be some tears from customers, but there also will be some laughs from the owners.
The joke is that you work in a Chinese restaurant so your kids don't have to work in a Chinese restaurant. And that worked.
Celebrating our AANHPI community, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the Backroads.
And now it's your turn. If you have something you think would be a great road trip destination, make sure you let John know all about it by texting your idea to 916-321-3310. Check out how a local Hmong artist is working to help keep their cultural traditions alive. Through the traditional Hmong art of flower cloths and story cloths, they help tell a history of a painful survival and resilience, how a decorative tradition evolved into a form of documentation after war in Laos drove many in the Hmong community into refugee camps in Thailand and eventually the U.S.
There's different types of story cloths, like some document folk tales, some document historical events, and then others document migration.
One of those sewing culture through cloth is a lecturer at UC Davis and hopes to make her flower cloth workshops an annual occasion. The current one runs every other Saturday morning through August. And if you are interested in reading more about any of the stories that we showed you, make sure you head to our website, abc10.com/race and culture. As always, thank you so much for watching and for inviting us into your home.